Valley Talk on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
Here we are, another beautiful day in the neighborhood, as the man says. It is, I always wanted to say that. 11:06 is the time. Valley Talk, welcome one and all. Thank you for being with us. Beautiful weather, sunshine, a little windy, but hey, we'll take it. It's a beautiful day here in the Mid-Willamette Valley. We had an awesome time at the Pix Theater Saturday at 1 p.m. Jay Burcham is with me in the studios here, and we had a showing of the movie called Honor Flight, One Last Mission. And on the phone with us is Mike Pungergar. He heads up the Honor Flight hub in Eugene, which covers the Mid-Willamette Valley. First of all, Mike, I guess you just came back from an honor flight here in D.C. You're fresh off the plane, so to speak.
I don't know if I feel so fresh this morning, but yes, we just got back last night. We had 27 veterans from the combined area of Lane, Lynn, Lincoln, and Benton counties. It was just an awesome experience for everybody on the trip. We had 27 volunteers and guardians as well as the 27 veterans.
If people have just turned in and don't know what we're talking about, Honor Flight, what is Honor Flight?
Honor Flight is a program that's set up to get veterans back to Washington, D.C. free of charge to visit their memorials in our capital. And the focus for our hub area since we started last year is to get the World War II veterans back there because of their age and the reality that our time is running out to recognize their service 70 years ago and give them the thank you that they never received when they returned home from World War II.
And what we also want to do is see that Mid-Willamette Valley World War II veterans go back to D.C. And to that end, I have a gentleman in my studio with me today, Jay Burcham of Burcham's Medals. There's been a number of people. Jay spent a lot of time on it. We have as well. And other folks have really come together to make this happen. The Pix Theater this last Saturday at 1 p.m., we sold out 200 seats to see a viewing of Honor Flight in Albany, and all of the proceeds from those ticket sales goes to send Mid-Willamette Valley veterans back to D.C. And also part of Honor Flight, one of the things that's happening is the story is being told to the next generation about what World War II veterans did. And I talked to a number of young folks after the Pix showing, and they were really touched. They were really moved. Jay, what did you think of the Saturday showing? What did you come away with?
It was just absolutely fantastic. Fantastic to be a part of this. And for Saturday, this past Saturday at 1 o'clock, as you mentioned at the Pix, if you, the listener, could visualize 2 restored World War II Jeeps out front, 20 American flags lining both sides of the street and on 2nd Street in front of the Pix, some National Guard personnel greeting people at the door, South Albany High School students helping usher and welcome those that came to view the documentary. It's just a fantastic feeling for everyone. They received their programs. They went into the theater. The American Legion Post number 10 of Albany presented the colors. It was just so good to be a part of this. It's just fantastic.
Now, if you did not have a chance to go to the Pix this last Saturday, there is one more showing. And in fact, we have 800 seats this time. And this is going to be at the River Center in Lebanon. And again, all of the proceeds that we sell from the ticket sales, tickets are $10 each. You can come in, watch the movie, honor World War II veterans. In fact, one of the things that happened Saturday was we had the patrons or the members of the public exit the theater first. And Jay had prearranged to have a student band across the street playing music. And then we had the World War II veterans exit. And so people had a chance to pay their honor to the veterans.
Yeah, South Albany High School band was across the street. It was just perfect. So many young people that were involved in this. I just need to say thank you so much. But to salute these veterans as they exited the theater was just an extra touch that brought tears to many people's eyes. I recall right now, I had a Purple Heart recipient of World War II come up to me, tears in his eyes, and he shook my hand and he said, "Thank you. Thank you for showing this." And he turned around and walked away. And just after that, a gentleman, obviously a Vietnam vet, came up to me and had tears in his eyes, had 2 cards that were given to him cards that were developed by high school students, local high school students, that had handwritten in these cards, "Thank you. Thank you so much for your service, your sacrifice for me." Many quick little statements that were written by high school students. But he said, "Jay, thank you. When I came home from Vietnam, I didn't receive this. I didn't receive applause or a thank you. But today, I got a thank you as I exited that theater. I got applause, and I have 2 cards in my hands." And he walked off.
Now, Honor Flight is serving World War II veterans right now, and there's a big push on to do this because we're losing these guys at about 1,000, guys and gals, but mostly guys. We're losing them about 1,000 per day. One of the things that the Honor Flight program does is it offers these veterans a chance to have some closure and to deal with some things that they've been carrying on their hearts and in their psyche for a long time. And it allows them to go back to D.C. not as a tourist, but as a fellow World War II veteran and talk to other veterans about the situation that they went through, about what it was like back there, and to remember the guys that went away. One of the quotes in the film, when somebody went up to one of the World War II veterans who had attended an Honor Flight and said, "You're a hero. You know, what's it feel like being a hero?" And the guy said, "Nah, heroes are the guys that didn't come back."
That's right. I've heard that from others. I have over the years, and that is so true. That's the way these folks viewed themselves. The heroes were their buddies that didn't come home.
So you have a chance to help us. You have a chance to be part of the Honor Flight team, to be a part of this effort that is sending World War II veterans back from the Mid-Willamette Valley back to D.C. How you can do that is buy a ticket, and they're only $10 each. We have plenty of seats available this Saturday, 1 p.m., River Center, Lebanon. You can buy tickets at the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce, and you can also buy tickets at Burcham's Metals. Again, $10 each. And Jay, I got to say this because Burcham's Metals, Jay, is paying for the royalty rights to show this movie. So every dime that we sell from the tickets goes to the Honor Flight program. So thank you for doing that. But you can be a part of it, and you can do it, and you can hear some of the stories. And you might want to bring a tissue or two with you because they're pretty heart-wrenching. These guys went through some pretty hard stuff back there in World War II, and some of these guys are still carrying with them today. Love this program, Honor Flight, and do strongly encourage you to be a part of it. And let's send a message to these veterans that we here in the Mid-Willamette Valley support our World War II veterans and want to send them back to Washington, D.C. Mike, your thoughts?
I'll tell you, after just coming home from an Honor Flight, there's nobody that'll view this movie, there's nobody that can be part of this Honor Flight program and not be touched by it, not be touched by these men and women who served 70 years ago, and just they gave so much of their lives. Just a quick sharing from this past one. We visit the World War II Memorial, of course, is the focus of the trip. That's their memorial. But while we're back there, we took them to the Lincoln Memorial, which that loop includes the Vietnam and Korean memorials. We went to the Air Force and Navy memorials. We went to Arlington National Cemetery, where everybody got to witness the changing of the guard and 2 wreath layings at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. But we finished up our visit at the Marine Corps Memorial, and we had a dear old lady, God bless her. She was a Marine Corps veteran from World War II, and we had a gentleman. I'm just going to say his name is Jerry. And while we were at the Marine Corps Memorial, we gathered together for a group photo of their flag raising on Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima during World War II, that horrendous battle on Iwo Jima. And they said, "Have you talked to Jerry? Do you know that he was on Iwo?" I said, "I knew he was a Marine Corps veteran, but no, I didn't know he was on Iwo. He didn't put that on his application." They said, "You need to talk to him." So I went over and, this is heart-wrenching. He had tears in his eyes. And I said, "Jerry, are you okay?" He says, "This is bringing back a lot of memories, a lot of faces, a lot of memories. Understand that you were here on Iwo." He says, "Yeah, we were in the first wave that landed." He said, "Then it was hell." He said, "Mike, you see those men up there. I knew 2 of them personally. I was 50 feet away from that flag when it went up. He said, you know, and everybody in America thought that battle for the island was over. The island had been secured. It had barely begun. He said, we lost so many thousands of men and injured and dead. He said, it was just, he said, this is bringing back a lot of faces, and they're all 18 and 19 years old.
Yeah. Wow.
It was powerful.
So it's really important even today that we tell these World War II veterans that we respect them, we honor them. I love the name of this organization. It's called Honor Flight. One of the, I think it's the Marine Corps that has the mission statement or the motto of, we leave no one behind on the field of battle.
Amen.
And so that's the culture that people are in the military with. They have, I've covered you, I've got your back. Or another well-known saying is, I've got your 6. And that is referring to aerial combat. And your 6 o'clock is when somebody comes up from underneath from your belly and you can't see them. So when they say we got your 6, it means they've got your back or got your underbelly where you're vulnerable. So they come back here to the United States, and we as a society need to have that attitude for them. We've got your back. We thank you for what you did. We want to pay you the honor that you deserve, and especially World War II veterans right now, because they're passing away at an unprecedented rate because they're old. They're mid-80s, mid-90s. A lot of them have actually died waiting to go on an honor flight because we couldn't get them back there fast enough. But there's still some left, and we want them to have this experience of an honor flight where we pay them the honor, give them some closure. If you see the movie, you got to see the movie, because one of the things that happens is they go through the airport, as they leave Portland Airport, as they arrive in D.C., there's a ceremony at the airport. They have water fountains, water cannons, and honor guards, and so on and so forth. And it's just amazing. It just means so much to these guys.
Well, it's a real treat to be able to attend a showing like this with your neighbors, with the people of your community that you had no idea that they served or how they served, where they served. But this is an opportunity to come alongside those people, walk across the street and invite that elderly neighbor to go. Buy 2 tickets and include that gentleman that is a neighbor, and you know that he served, but you never really talked about his service. This would be an opportunity to take him. And also remember the wives that many find themselves as widows today. They too sacrificed. They've lost their husbands of decades, but they too are warriors for us in their own way. And they need to be honored and saluted as well. Please invite that elderly neighbor, that lady that's next door that lost her husband maybe recently, that she would love to go and see this documentary.
One of the things that Free Think Media did, one of the goals they have, is to pass the definitions of honor, courage, valor, duty to the next generation. And what they're wanting us to do as we're showing this movie is to make sure that young people have a chance to see the story of the World War II veterans. Because a lot of times the heroes for today's society, the heroes for the young people today, are the people that make 30 points in a basketball game. You know, God love them for that, but I think the true heroes are the guys where the landing craft door opens and the bullets come in and half the guys around them fall dead. And they know that they've got to march forward and they've got to take the beach, because if they don't, we could lose the war and we could lose the planet. And I'm not trying to be overly dramatic. In that day and age, that's what it was.
That's right.
We take the beach and we hold it, or we lose the war, and tyranny takes over the planet. It was serious, serious, serious. And one of the things that can happen in society as time goes on, we have a tendency to forget the sacrifice that they did. And these World War II veterans are among us today. They're at the supermarket and whatever, and they're carrying all this inside them, and they're smiling and they're saying paper or plastic. You'll know what I'm talking about when you watch the movie.
Yeah.
But But we got to pay them honor, and we got to do it now. Mike, do you want to add anything?
I guess one of the things that this Honor Flight program and the movie Honor Flight One Final Mission really, I think, helps bring home to the people that get a chance to view it is the fact that we need to remember, just as you were saying, what was going on in our world 70 years ago. And the fact that if the American Marines, Air Corps, Navy personnel, Army personnel, Coast Guard, Merchant Marines, all of the men and women, 16 million plus that served our country in World War II, hadn't have done what they did, our world would be completely different today because tyranny would have ruled. And we lost not 58,000 like we did in Vietnam, and that was certainly tragic enough. We lost over 408,000 Americans that did not come home from World War II. So this is our chance for those that went through literally hell for us, for the freedoms that we still enjoy today, to let them know that we appreciate what they did. We thank them. We honor them for their service.
Okay. And you can buy tickets for this Saturday showing, May 25th, 1 p.m. at the River Center in Lebanon. Buy tickets at the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce, and you can also buy tickets at Burcham's Metals. Buy some tickets for your friends, neighbors, and especially for the young people. Again, I've mentioned before, I've mentioned again, I did talk to a number of young people. What did you take away from this? And a lot of them had tears in their eyes and said, you know, I've heard all the stories and so on and so forth, but until I hear the emotional, this story, I didn't really realize just how much they sacrificed until I saw this movie. Good job for Freethink Media, and great job for all of those folks involved in Honor Flight. Jay?
But the challenge is out there that Dave is expressing. For you that did come down to the picks this past Saturday, please, you know what we're talking about, but I challenge you right now to get on the phone, email, text, whomever you can, to spread the word to please buy a ticket, buy tickets, and attend what's the same that you saw this past Saturday will be shown, as Dave has already said, this coming Saturday at the River Center, the old Walmart facility. And the River Center folks have very graciously stepped forward and said you can use our facility for the showing of this documentary at no charge, just as the folks from the Pix Theater did. So much has gone into this to salute these folks. Please be a part of it. And for some reason, if you cannot buy a ticket, please consider coming to the parking lot. And when these folks come out of the church of the River Center at approximately 2:40, please be there to welcome them, to applaud these folks. It's Memorial Day weekend, folks, and you know, we have a lot going on in our lives. We're busy. We're all busy. But this is something that we need to take time for, if you possibly can. At the very least, show up and show your gratitude by applauding these folks as they exit the facility. Or, better yet, buy a ticket, knowing that 100% of those dollars that you spend on that ticket goes to Honor Flight that Mike was already talking about, it, and Dave as well. So thank you.
Okay, the closing thoughts, Mike, then we'll have to go to the next segment of Valley Talk today. What would you like to leave the folks with?
I want to leave you folks with that I will be in Lebanon. I wish I could have been in Albany, but while you were watching that movie, we were doing it. 1 o'clock last Saturday afternoon when you started that movie, we were watching Changing of the Guard with all, not just with our 27 veterans, but with hundreds of World War II veterans that were there from around the country with other Honor Flight hubs. But I will be in Lebanon at the Riverside on Saturday. I'm excited to be part of it and looking forward to being there.
One thing we should also mention is that if you love this documentary, and I know you do, I know you will when you see it, you can buy a copy of it for $20 and have that as your own personal copy. Show it to your friends, neighbors. $10 of that will go to the National Honor Flight Program. $10 will go to the Mid-Willamette Valley Hub. And we sold out at the picks of the copies. Folks, if there were some people there that want copies of it, we will get you copies, and we'll also have copies for sale this Saturday. So,
thank you so much. Lebanon High School has been approached. Many people, many different service agencies, groups, Sweet Home High School, Lebanon PD, Sweet Home PD. The list goes on. All these folks have been invited, and I just continue to challenge you. Please buy a ticket. Please come and see what Mike and Dave and I are talking about. And it's just something that we really want you to be a part of. So thank you again.
Mike Pungergar is with Honor Flight. Thank you for being with us on Valley Talk.
Appreciate it. I want to
also
thank Jay for all his support, too.
Well, thank you, Mike. It's been a pleasure being with you, and I look forward to seeing you Saturday.
I'll be there.
We'll see you there, 1 o'clock. And coming up next on Valley Talk, we are going to go overseas for a bit. I had a chance to talk to some folks from New Zealand as they visited Albany recently. They were government staffers, and they came over here to talk to government staffers in Albany and compare how the two governments work. And they came here to learn about how some things are done here in the United States, take that experience back to New Zealand. That when Valley Talk continues.
Going out to lunch at a nice restaurant can be expensive, and the big portions put you more in the mood for a nap than a productive afternoon. Mama's Fine Italian to the rescue. The small appetite senior menu is just right. Anyone and everyone is invited to order from the Light Appetites menu for lunch from 11 to 4 p.m. with tasty entrees beginning at only $4.95. Why go hungry or go anywhere else for lunch? Eat healthy, eat light at Mama's. Closed Sunday and Monday, so make the most of Tuesday through Friday and join your friends at Mama's for lunch. Dinner only on Saturday. Mama's features charbroiled steaks every day. Make reservations for dinner or pick up a bottle of fine wine. Seating is limited, so please call for reservations. 541-451-5050. That's 451-5050. Mama's Fine Italian and Wine Shop on West Oak between Main and 2nd in Lebanon, across from the Big Blue Napa Auto Parts building.
The Mennonite Village In-Home Care Program has another happy client.
Hi, my name is Melinda Moore, and I'm happy to be able to share my experiences with in-home care at the Mennonite Village. My mom, Margaret Kirk, moved to Albany about 7 years ago when she was 87. From that time until today, the in-home caregivers at Mennonite Village have been just crucial. She started out just needing someone once a week, and then as time's gone on and she's become less mobile, they've become an absolute crucial part of her both physical and emotional well-being. We couldn't get along without them. She's with them 24 hours a day. They work with the family so much that we feel like they're part of our family, and they've become my mom's very best friends. I could not say enough things about in-home care and would recommend them at any level for anybody.
Contact Sue Curry for more information at 541-928-2136 or visit MennoniteVillage.org.
Attention, lords and ladies, serfs and peasants. The Strawberries of the Round Table have issued a decree to be followed by all except the Knights of Knee. The Festival of Strawberries commences on the 30th of May in the year of our Strawberry Lord 2013. Listen up, squires, attendance is required or you'll be disquired. The Junior Strawberry Procession for lads and lasses will be held the 14th hour on the 30th of May. So don't cry in dismay. March for the Strawberry Lord and be happy this day. The grand procession will be held beginning in the 11th hour on the 1st of June, soon after which everyone partakes in the kingdom's grandest strawberry shortcake. So don't be a buffoon and show up at noon. Take pleasure in the traditions of the Davis Carnival. Save on carnival tickets now at the Lebanon Chamber for only $22. It's the Strawberry Festival commencement on the 30th of May through June 2nd.
Laugh, cry, or get scared spitless with When Radio Was. Weeknights at 10 on 1580 KGAL.
We have in the studios with us Stephanie Ross of Wanganui and Jenny McFarland of Tiawamutu. Did I get that right?
You did get that right.
All righty. So first of all, Stephanie, welcome to Albany and welcome to the United States.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
So you're part of an exchange program with the City of Albany and here in the United States. Explain the program by which you're here.
Sure. It's a U.S. Department of State funded program. The particular focus this year is on governance processes, legislative processes, engagement, transparency, the role of minorities and the role of women. So that was all of particular interest to me. It was something that I applied for through the Society of Local Government Managers in New Zealand, and I was luckily accepted for. I'm over here with 2 other New Zealanders, and there are also 3 people from Thailand and 1 person from China participating. We spent a week in Washington, D.C., gaining a bit of an understanding about government here before being sent to a host community, and Jenny and I were lucky enough to be sent to Albany, and so the other fellows have been placed in other communities around the country. And then we go back to Washington, D.C. at the end of this week to participate in a congress with all of the other fellows who are involved in all of the State Department funded exchanges, so that's about 220 people, I think. And so while we've been here, we've been working with council staff, we've been meeting with directors, we've attended council meetings, we've had a tour of Albany and the surrounding areas, and we've just basically been learning and sharing ideas in relation to engagement primarily.
What is the biggest difference you've noticed? Obviously, there's differences in culture, and that culture also reflecting how we run our governments. Let's talk about some differences you've noticed between how Americans run their local governments and how they do it in New Zealand.
Well, I think probably one of the main differences for us has been the types of roles and duties that the council here is involved in. So we don't, at a local government level, we don't have anything to do with ambulance, fire or police. That's something that's done through the central government. And also we found that the level of public engagement is a little bit different. So while we do have a lot of public engagement, it's a little bit more mandatory and a little bit more prescribed. So we have a Local Government Act that governs what we do and how we should do it. So we, when we do engage with the public through our plans, we kind of have a script with which we have to work. Here, that's not the case, and we've noticed that there have been some really innovative approaches and some quite different approaches with the public work sessions and the formal council meetings as well, that there is an opportunity for the public to come in and voice their opinion in a pretty laid back and informal way, because when we do things like that, there are time limits and there are very sort of strict processes and procedures around that. So that's something that I found really interesting.
One of the biggest challenges for government over here, government here tries to promote economic development and bringing jobs to the area. As you talk to local elected officials and local staff here, finding out what are the priorities for government here, how do they compare with the priorities for government in New Zealand, i.e. economic development? Is that a big priority in New Zealand?
It's an interesting time for local government in New Zealand. We've got local government reform happening at the moment. So what our central government has been doing is getting councils to get back to the basics, focusing just on core services. So that's things like infrastructure, roads, water, and focusing less on things like community development and economic development. The idea being that council should really only be focusing on local services, and that economic development is potentially one of those things that doesn't need to be done locally. It could be done at a national or perhaps regional level. The argument that local communities put forward is that it's something that they believe is inherently important to local communities, and that it's something that is probably best delivered by local communities, because clearly it's something we have a real vested interest in, and it's not something that's really being done at the moment by anybody else. So that has been very, very interesting. We're going through a process at the moment of looking at what council does, whether there are some things that we shouldn't be involved in any longer. And although to date economic development has been really important for the place that I'm from, because we're a smaller place and we need to attract people to live and visit and come and work here, it may be something over time that we will be less involved in. Particularly, there are issues around councils being involved in events. There have been some very high-profile events that were run by councils in New Zealand that lost a lot of money for their communities, so that's something that's really come under the spotlight.
What have you learned specifically, things that are done here in the United States in working with local governments like the city of Albany, that you think, that's a good idea. Maybe we can retool it a little bit and take it back to New Zealand. Show your playbook a little bit.
I do like the real open door policy here. It's something that we've noticed just working in the office, that both for the community and for staff members, that it's incredibly open, and people are very approachable. There's been a real calmness here, which Jenny and I have both noticed, which is nice. But what I'm particularly interested in is that one of my roles is around non-financial performance. So I've looked at the systems here, and just the amount of information that is made available online is incredible, and that's something that I would really like to look at. So I've met with Bob Woods here, and he's got some amazing ideas. So I've definitely been picking his brain in that respect. So that's something. I mean, we have that information available, but and although we do report some of it through an annual report, it's not the most publicly accessible and community-friendly document. So anything that I could do to make that information available and make it more attractive and engaging is something that I would like to pursue when I get home.
What do you do in New Zealand? Are you a staff member?
Yeah, I'm the policy and corporate planning manager at my council. So I haven't really found a role here that's equivalent to what I do. Some of what Bob does is similar, but basically I do all of the strategic planning, so our long-term plans, our annual plans, monitoring of non-financial performance through annual reports, other monitoring and survey work.
So you're talking about from an infrastructure basis or just government overall?
It's really everything overall, because I work for a smaller provincial council, so we don't tend to get locked into one area. So I work across all departments of my council. So any sort of policy or strategy or plan that needs to be developed, then me and my team will do that, working with the councillors. I mean, they set the vision, then we work to pull that together into a document, and then assist with implementing and monitoring that.
Now, as far as how we organize city government here, there's cities and then there's counties. Does that reflect, when you talk about council in New Zealand, are we talking about council comparative to an American city council, or is it more like a county?
Yeah, that's something I've sort of struggled a little bit to wrap my head around. We've been trying to seek some commonalities to try and work out how what we do kind of fits with the framework here. So I work for a district council, which encompasses the city really, but our district's a little bit wider than that because we have a rural area. So that's, I guess, equivalent to what you would call a city council, but then we also sit underneath a regional council, which kind of a bit like a county, but again a little bit different. So the regional council has responsibility basically for management of land, air and water, so more environmental concerns. So we work with them, and then obviously central government sits above that. So it's a tiered approach, but yeah, here it's, like I said, we've got a Local Government Act which is very prescriptive in terms of what our roles and responsibilities are and how the framework works. Here it's a lot more flexible. One of the things we learned when we were in Washington DC was that it depends was a very common sentence starter, because everything is so different here and there's so much flexibility between the different states that it's kind of hard to draw comparisons for us.
Okay, let's switch gears here, and we're going to talk to Jenny McFarland. Stephanie, thank you very much for visiting with us. Talk to Jenny McFarland. She is from, pronounce the name for me.
Oh, Te Awamutu.
Te Awamutu. What do you do as a government employee or staff member in New Zealand?
I'm a manager, legal and corporate support. My background is as an attorney, but I don't work as an in-house attorney for council, so I'm involved in the governance area. We have 12 elected members, councillors and a mayor, about 26 committees, so some of those are equivalent to your commissions, your advisory boards. I manage the provision of legal services. I look after some key, what we call corporate documents, so some policy documents. I've had civil defence training. A lot of staff have a role in civil defence. After the Christchurch earthquakes, that's become a big focus for us. So it's a relatively varied role. I've worked there for over 12 years, and I was initially in the regulatory area, so that encompasses things like animal control, environmental health, liquor licensing, that sort of work.
So more the legal area of council and government work.
Yeah.
How does that compare with the legal framework here in the United States? A lot of similarities, a lot of differences?
As Stephanie mentioned, we're governed by an act that applies to all the councils, whether you're a city or a district or unitary or regional, and but we have no overall constitution in New Zealand. That's actually something up for discussion at the moment. But I guess a big significant learning for me here has been about the ballot initiatives. And I've met with the district attorney and had discussions with him about his role here, some of the cases he's been involved in, so that's all been really interesting to me. It's slightly off the program in terms of what we're here for, but we've had the opportunity whilst we're here to meet with any department director that we'd like. We're meeting with the Public Works Director this afternoon. We've met with the Parks and Recreation Director. We're having a tour of the library this afternoon. So we're gathering information across all the business areas for our councils. But the ballot initiatives, to me, seem quite extreme measures, and that they're ideally, you'd hope to work with your community to avoid going to that extreme measure. We don't have those as an option in New Zealand, other than sort of two very limited circumstances. So if you wanted to change the boundaries of your local government area, maybe amalgamate with the next door district, then you can start a petition for that. So that you have an opportunity to do that once every 3 years, but not the kind of ballot initiatives that are here. So that's been fascinating.
So, for example, using the city of Albany as an example, a local resident here had a number of people wanted to limit how the city got into debt and the extra occurrence of debt for the city. But here in America, you can essentially almost put any kind of thing on the ballot as long as you get enough signatures, so it's wide open, and you can just go to the voters and vote on it. That's not the case in New Zealand, is it?
No, that's correct. But then, as Stephanie mentioned, we do have this very prescriptive Local Government Act. So every year, Council has to put in the public domain its draft annual plan, and it will usually do a summary for the public to be more readable, and it will focus on what are its key projects for that year, the expenditure associated with that, and then what levels of service is it going to give the community. So those are the non-financial performance measures that Stephanie was talking about. So we have to put that out before the community every year and consult on it. People can put in written submissions and then come and speak to those at hearings. We have to then report on that annually. And then we have a 10-year plan, our long-range plan, that is consulted on every 3 years. So there's a really big opportunity for public input, which precludes the need probably for ballot initiatives. But it's easy, because you have to do that every year, to start making it too formal a process and applying lip service, not really genuine engagement. So somewhere between that process and the ballot initiative, I think there's opportunities for a better engaged process.
This is Valley Talk and more from our friends from New Zealand that came and visited recently the city of Albany. We'll do that here in just a moment on Valley Talk when we continue.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by Auto Owners Insurance, the no-problem people. Visit AutoOwners.com. This is Charles Osgood. You may have seen one of those TV shows in which a celebrity chef tempts you into cooking something exotic like duck breast.
Duck breast, bit of a chef's favourite because it's absolutely full of flavour. Gamey, very rich, and the texture is extraordinary.
All right, how about a delicious dinner of bugs? The United Nations thinks that's a great idea, as you'll hear after this. Why turn to a trusted choice agency for your insurance needs? Because a trusted choice insurance agency is an independent advocate that works for your interests, not for any one company. That allows them to find the coverage, the company, and the price to fit your needs. They pledge to treat you as a person, not a policy. When you're looking for a trusted friend in the industry for home, auto, life, or business insurance, turn to Trusted Choice. Visit trustedchoice.com today.
What if someone invented a way to find the perfect brand new car that didn't involve driving from new car dealership to new car dealership? Well, Autotrader.com did. By searching our immense inventory of actual new cars for sale, you can see which dealers have the exact 2013 sedan you want. Plus, see who has the best price and compare offers in your area like cashback or low APR. So you can find which dealership has your perfect car and the best deal before ever leaving the house. Autotrader.com, the ultimate new car marketplace.
You might think of celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain as a taste of things to come. If the United Nations has its way, here he chows down on boiled grasshoppers.
So the whole thing is edible?
The whole thing is edible.
Oh, man. That's appalling.
There ain't nothing good in here, man.
Okay. Grasshoppers aren't a big hit with Bourdain. But the UN says keep experimenting. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization is pushing the idea of edible insects. They say grasshoppers, ants, and other members of the insect world are an underutilized food source for livestock, pets, and people.
Advocates of insect eating like to note that it's environmentally sound. Producing a pound of caterpillar takes 1/10 of the resources needed to produce a pound of beef. And insects brim with vitamins and minerals.
National Geographic has found that many of us already enjoy dining on bugs.
We just finished preparing a cricket cocktail. It's a lot like a shrimp cocktail, only instead of shrimp, we use crickets.
An estimated 2 billion people around the world already supplement their diets with insects. They're full of protein and minerals, assuming you can get past the creepiness factor. By the way, you may not think you could eat an insect, but experts have some information that may prompt you to skip lunch. Many insects are eaten inadvertently. Hey, is that dinner I hear? Bon appetit. The Osgood File. Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
You've seen the Cash Cab on TV. Now win prizes with a brand new cab service in the Mid-Willamette Valley. Introducing Call Me a Cab Taxi Service. Get your picture taken with Call Me a Cab Taxi Service. Post it on their Facebook and you can win a prize. Treating seniors and everyone with respect and dignity in a courteous, comfortable, affordable ride. Call 541-979-TAXI. That's 979-8294. Like them on Facebook. Call-me-a-cab. An Albany Chamber member.
Onshore site manager for BP. BP has paid over $23 billion in claims and cleanup costs. Today, the beaches and Gulf are open, and many areas are reporting their best tourism seasons in years. And BP is also committed to America. We support nearly 250,000 jobs and invest more here than anywhere else. We're working to fuel America for generations to come. Our commitment has never been stronger. Join the conversation on Facebook.com/BP America.
Get a free Samsung Rugby 3 when you switch your business to AT&T Enhanced Push-to-Talk on America's fastest 4G LTE network. Instant communication, and you can talk to up to 250 people at once. And with AT&T Enhanced Push-to-Talk, get a free Samsung Rugby 3 for every new CRU line, a company-paid line of service. Visit an AT&T store or call 1-877-981-3359 to switch today and get a free Samsung Rugby 3. AT&T. Rethink possible.
Limited time offer. Free phone on new activations only. Requires tier commitment to eligible plans plus activation of AT&T Enhanced Push-to-Talk service.
You can call us lefty or you can call us righty. We just call it Smarty Talk on 1580 KGAL.
We continue now on Valley Talk, and our conversation continues. A few days ago, we had with a couple of visitors from New Zealand who came to Albany and visited with local government officials in the States to compare how the two countries deal with government issues. That kind of brings me to my next question. What have you learned here? That same question I asked Stephanie just a moment ago, that you've looked at it and said, you know, that has some potential for at least some portions of it to be used in New Zealand. Would it be what you just described, or is there something else?
I was particularly impressed, like Stephanie, with the online material, particularly the general ledger being open to the public. I'm sure some of our chief financial officers might have heart attacks over that thought. So that was great to see. And I also think that the Sunshine Review, which Bob Woods explained to us, which is a wiki tool that makes comparisons of various councils based on criteria for transparency, and Albany has an A+ for that. So there's some definite learnings for us to take back to our councils around how they've achieved that level of grading. The other thing I think that has been a real highlight for me here is visiting Talking Water Gardens. My council is about to enter a joint project with the National Institute of Water and Atmosphere in New Zealand, known as NIWA, to have a non-mechanical treatment plant. So to come here and not only see it up and running, see its environmental benefits, but see that it's also a recreational opportunity now for the city is absolutely fantastic. I also really like how there is emphasis given to community facilities and events. So through your Parks and Recreation Department and your libraries, we're going to be visiting the libraries this afternoon. But notable that I think the level of budget for the Parks and Recreation is 42% of property taxes. It would be at least double that, I'm quite sure. And so the department obviously works really hard to get revenue from other sources and fundraise to help put on these events. But as mentioned by Stephanie, whether or not as a council we're going to be able to help with events in future, we have an events coordinator as a full-time position. That's now under the spotlight. But it's those things that I think add value to a community and attract people to want to live there. at the end of the day, the roads and water are extremely important and people take them for granted. But because we take them for granted, you're looking for, well, what's different about Albany? And it's got the carousel projects, the talking water gardens, the historic area, the restaurants, the Art and Air Festival. That sounds a fascinating combination of activities. So it's got real points of difference, and it's those that add value and bring people here, I think.
One of the things that the world was kind of watching was the Christchurch earthquake, and the ground kept shaking, and it was just horrific what happened, but it was just devastating the infrastructure in those communities. You mentioned that one of the things that councils are looking at is how they deal with that, and first of all, let's back up here a little bit. How is it in the Christchurch area now? The council that you're involved with is North Island, South Island?
North Island.
And Christchurch, of course, South Island.
Yeah.
So how is it there? Is it getting better?
Very slowly, because we're a small population of 4 million. My daughter's actually at university now in Christchurch, so I'm going to get to know it better. But I think one of the hardest things was that the central government took over as the emergency response team. So suddenly the city council wasn't the one making the decisions. And so there were some tensions there, and they set up a group to look at, they had to cordon off the centre part of the city, and a lot of people are out of their homes, and there's been a lot of insurance claims that have been happening. So it's very slow, but the fantastic thing is they've been able to create a new vision for their city, engage the public in that, and they're going to be rebuilding the heart of their city from scratch. Also, there have been significant initiatives that have come out of an event like that. So people have used shipping containers and turned them into shops and cafes, art on the streets. It's brought initiatives out of people that they probably didn't know were there, and also brought people closer together. And the rest of the country, the rest of the country has really been behind them and supporting them, but it will be years to recover from something like that. But there have been a lot of learnings in terms of civil defence and preparedness, because there's the tsunami threat, there's the earthquake threat, there are flooding threats, there's climate change, and we've been very impressed here, having visited Alexandria town and Arlington County while we were in Washington, to learn about the LEPC committees. I think they're emergency preparedness committees, the role of FEMA, the all hazards approach that you have to have a register of chemicals in your area, and the public has a right to know what chemicals are in the area. That's something I'm definitely taking back to our civil defence people. So yeah, I would say you're well advanced with your preparedness. But the first week we were here, there was the Boston Marathon bombings, the Texas explosion in Texas, an earthquake in China, and all the while we were learning about these things. So yeah, we'll be taking back as much learnings with us as hopefully we're going to be able to provide here.
One of the things that had to be frustrating, and back to Christchurch again, for local governments and the citizenry as well, but especially governments, I'd heard stories that they were rebuilding the roads, and then major aftershocks would rip the roads up again, and it had to be frustrating to put infrastructure in place and have it essentially fall down again or be ripped up and have to go in and do it again. The story I heard was that some of the roads, at least temporarily, were abandoned because they simply got tired of going back and trying to fix them.
Well, that's definitely the case, particularly for the insurance claims, because they were treated as separate insurance claims and events, but trying to work out which earthquake, because there was one in September and then the big one in February, which earthquake had caused the damage. And then there was liquefaction, which was a word like tsunami that was not in common vocabulary before then. So the liquefaction created huge damage to the roads and blocked roads. But there's still the red zone in the center of the city, which is completely inaccessible still. And I'm sure there are still streets and residential areas where they're inaccessible. I've only really visited some of the airport area and university area, and could only see small amounts of evidence of the earthquake. I haven't as yet been able to get to see the red zone and the rest of the damage.
Is the ground still shaking down there?
Yes, yeah. My daughter says that people don't take any notice. They carry on their conversations because they're so used to the aftershocks. I mean, you're talking about 30,000 aftershocks, probably more than that. I mean, it's just, and they vary in intensity. So it's for the few months after the earthquakes, I think it was an extremely stressful time for people living there because they just didn't know if there was going to be another big one. But now I think sort of 2 years on, people have learnt to live with them. But it made an awful lot of people leave the area and want to bring up their children elsewhere, but also not cope with that stress of being constantly reminded. Normally, if you have a big event, a storm, a tornado, it's a one-off, and you can slowly recover afterwards. But in this case, the stress levels were just continuous with the continuous aftershocks. I can't imagine what it would be like.
Well, we in some of the Christian outreaches that we did as part of the ministry, not with the radio station, but something else, one of the things as we talked to pastors down there was they said that the most difficult thing was not knowing what was going to happen next, and whether when the ground started to shake, whether it was going to be worse than the one before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And we've had a visit to Portland whilst we were here, and it was mentioned that a big earthquake sort of expected every 400 years, and that we're now up to 460 years. And I had a dream whilst we were staying the night in Portland that an earthquake was hitting Portland, and it was so realistic. I was trying to get out of my bed and to hide in the wardrobe or under the sink or something, and I was tangled up in my sheets. And so it was very realistic. But we've done this training in New Zealand called I think it was a shakeout exercise that was here in America as well, and just teaching people to drop, cover, hold, and that's the basics that you're expected to do. Otherwise, yeah, you I don't know what else. It's better not to run out of buildings and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to the cultural exchange program here between the United States and New Zealand. Is this the first time you've been involved in a government cultural exchange program?
Yes, it is. Although I'm from Scotland originally, and my husband's a planner, and he did a job exchange for a year to New Zealand. So our initial year was spent through that exchange, and then we went back there and have been. It was meant to be temporary, but we like it so much that it's now been about 15, 16 years that we've been living there. But this was the first opportunity, like Stephanie, when I saw the focus of the program, I just saw it as absolutely things that I was interested in. And yeah, we were highly excited in February this year when we heard that we'd been selected, and we're traveling along with some other Asia-Pacific fellows to America for 4 weeks.
So are you learning lots? Are these programs worth it? Do you want to continue? Would you do one again?
I would definitely do this again. Yeah, we learnt even just the 4 days in Washington, D.C. with visiting the Department of State, Senator Wyden's office, tour of Capitol Hill, going to Alexandria and Arlington. I just took lots of notes, and we've been asked to do blogs, so we've been sharing information on blogs. We've prepared a report which we're presenting back to the city manager and other staff here today. Yeah, I think the benefits are significant in terms of we're not claiming to be local government experts, but we're a new set of eyes, and we're not invested in the area in any way, and we're not here long enough for anyone to get too upset with us. So it's just that perspective, and we don't perhaps do that enough within our own local government sector. So it's we can take this program and make something similar happen just between ourselves and the local government sector.
Now my next question, you were kind of led into my next question without aware of it. A segue. Can we learn something from you? Should we be sending a delegation to New Zealand?
That will happen later this year. There might be about 12 local government managers in the US that come over to New Zealand. We haven't heard any details yet. When we first went to the ICMA offices in Washington, they said to us, you're here to learn, but in fact we usually learn more from you. But I think it's a fairly equal exchange from my experience. Hugely beneficial, but we're very lucky that English is at least our first language. Our other fellows, there's in fact 4 from Thailand, I think, and 1 from China. They're doing this, dealing with this complex local government work in a second language. So I have huge admiration for them in dealing with this. And we've learned a lot about their own countries in the process. And then at the Congress next week, there'll be 30 to 40 countries, I think, represented. So we've got an opportunity to learn from other local government managers all across the world. It's fantastic.
Okay. Jenny, thank you for visiting with us here on Valley Talk. Stephanie, again, the same question to you. Is this program worth it? Would you do it again?
In a second. I've had an amazing time. I've always had a real love for the United States, so the opportunity to come here and to spend some time working and really becoming immersed in a community has been completely invaluable. I've learned a lot. Hopefully I've imparted some knowledge here as well. Like Jenny said, it's sort of been made clear that this is definitely a reciprocal exchange, and it's completely opened my eyes, and I'll have a lot to take back. I mean, I'm a relatively young manager, so the opportunity to be involved in something like this, it really doesn't come around that often, and having that opportunity to be connected with this, international network of local government peers and managers is something that I will find incredibly useful throughout my career.
Should we be sending a delegation, for example, from Albany or other cities down to New Zealand so we can learn how things are done down under?
I'm sure they would learn a lot. We would love to host someone if they did come. The things that I've talked about here have primarily been around the youth engagement efforts that we undertake in Wanganui. I think that's something that we could particularly share with Albany. We have a youth committee which is extremely successful and very active, so that's something that I've been sharing with staff here.
Okay. Stephanie Rose from Wanganui and Jenny McFarland from Tiawamutu. Close. Okay. Good on you. And thank you for being with us on Valley Talk today.
Thank you very much. We've appreciated all the hospitality we've had in Albany.
Yeah, thank you very much. We've had a fantastic time.
When you look out across the Willamette Valley, you'll see plenty of banking choices. Willamette Community Bank is here to give you an option that's pretty unique, like no other, in fact. Hi, this is Sue Kalina, Relationship Manager. Willamette Community Bank provides an alternative to large national and regional banks by offering customized financial services and local decision-making to benefit local people, local families, and local businesses. How many banks can say that?
Willamette Community Bank, service like no other. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Rich Abers, Service Manager at Power Buick GMC, and I'm here to tell you that not only is Power Buick GMC the #1 local dealership to purchase a new or used vehicle, we are your General Motors service headquarters. Our GM-trained and ASE-certified technicians service Buick, Cadillac, Chevrolet, GMC, Hummer, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, and Saturn vehicles. In or out of warranty. Extended warranties, no problem. Cars not GM built, no problem.
Call Power today at 541-757-1415 on the corner of 5th and Buchanan in Corvallis.
The Corvallis OSU Symphony Orchestra performs the final concert of their 107th season this Tuesday evening at 7:30 at the LaSalle Stewart Center. There's no need to travel to hear the finest in classical music. For over a century, the Corvallis OSU Symphony has provided quality performances right here in the Valley. This year's final performance will feature Symphony No. 5 by Gustav Mahler. Considered to be one of the monuments of classical music, it was a declaration of love to the woman he would soon marry. Marlon Carlson will direct. Tickets are available in advance at Grace Winds Music and Grassroots Books and Music in Corvallis. Also available online at cosusymphony.org. If you haven't attended a performance this season, if you've never been, come enjoy the Corvallis OSU Symphony season finale this Tuesday night, May 21st at the LaSalle Stewart Center on the OSU campus.
May 27th is Memorial Day, and we salute Army Lieutenant Eli Whiteley, who served his country above and beyond the call of duty. On the 27th of December, 1944, Whiteley was leading a platoon against enemy forces barricaded inside houses in the French town of Sigolsheim. In the face of withering mortar and automatic weapons fire, he charged into the first building alone, and though severely wounded in both arm and shoulder, captured it along with all the men inside. Though blinded and suffering from critical wounds, he refused all medical aid until the town was taken. His personal aggressive fighting spearheaded the defeat of the enemy in a vital area. Eli Whiteley was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for service above and beyond.
This Memorial Day weekend, the folks at Albany Regional Museum invite you to join them in pausing to remember the price others have paid to keep us free. That's Albany Regional Museum at 2nd and Lyon downtown.
From PCs to the internet, Kim Commando has the answers. Saturday mornings on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
We're also going to be taking Valley Talk on the road quite a bit here in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. And by the way, don't forget to buy a ticket for the Saturday showing, 1 p.m. at the River Center in Lebanon. Honor Flight, One Last Mission. All of the proceeds from the ticket sales goes to send Willamette Valley World War II veterans back to Washington, D.C. on an honor flight. Check it out. Google Honor Flight, One Last Mission and watch the trailer. Amazing movie. We will be there this Saturday, and we would like to see you there as well. Buy a ticket for your friends, family, and especially young folks that really need to see this movie and find out the sacrifices World War II veterans have made and help them redefine exactly what a hero is. I'm Dave Adams. This is Valley Talk. Thank you for being with us today. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any comments, send me an email, dave@kgal.com.